Hey, I got a quick question for you. Are you showing up as the expert authority in your business, making sure that your message is on point and your branding is reflective of your go-to authorityness? Hi, I'm Christine Blasdell, your expert authority business coach, and I have a way for you to rate your expert authority prowess. And you can check it out at expertauthorityquiz.com. It's fun, it's easy, and it's something that you really should be doing to see where you level up. If you want to establish trust with your audience and potential customers and clients, you might want to take this quiz. Once again, head on over to expertauthorityquiz.com. That's expertauthorityquiz.com.
Welcome to Out of the Box with Christine, the podcast for conscious entrepreneurs. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you ready to shine? Well, get ready, Truth Seeker. You're in for an amazing ride. And now, here's the host of the show, Christine Blasdell.
Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blasdell, your expert authority business coach, and I help entrepreneurs of all stripes get the word out about their brand, their business through multimedia. And that means books, videos, website, you name it, a podcast. Your own podcast. Would that be good? Yes, it would be. I highly recommend it. And my guest today is someone who thinks outside of the box and paints outside of the box. This is artist Sarah Rowan. And Sarah is, I found you from a mutual friend who told me you need to know Sarah. And I went on your website and I just was so impressed. Sarah is Australia's first keynote speaker, speed painter, which is cool because you got a visual going on.
Yeah.
Right? And she's from America, like myself, living in the land down under. So welcome to Out of the Box, Sarah.
Well, thanks for having me, Christine.
I feel like we're like cousins or something because we both
100%.
have the black glasses. We both are Americans living in Australia, and I'm gonna get to the story about how you got to Australia. But I just thought it was such an interesting. I was like, yeah, I need to know Sarah. I really do. I need to know her. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really pumped to be here. And before we get started, can I say something really weird?
Yeah.
Okay, so for the past 2 months, instead of going by Sarah, I've been transitioning to going by Rowan, and I'm trying to get the word out there. So this is my first podcast where I'm going to try to mention that, because Sarah means princess, and if you take one look at me, like, she doesn't really feel like a princess. But Rowan is a sacred tree of healing and protection in Celtic.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
It's also a cool name.
Yeah, it is. And I sign all my paintings, Rowan, and it's really funny because I've listened to people look at my art that didn't know who I was. And one time I was eavesdropping and these blokes were like looking at my signature and it said Rowan. And they're like, he paints like a girl.
What?
That's weird. But yeah, so
such a man thing to say.
It is. So I thought, if Banksy can go by Banksy and Beyonce can go by Beyonce, I'm like, let's just make it Rowan.
I like that. Okay, so Rowan. So we'll just, forget about that other name.
Oh, I'm not weird about it. You can call me Sarah. I answer to anything. Most people call me sir, and I'm like, oh, what's up?
Yeah, same here. Same here. I get mate. I get he, she, it, whatever, and I go, yeah, okay. The only thing is that when I go into a women's bathroom and
oh my gosh,
they grab their purse
and their children.
Why do they do that? Why do
they? Or the best thing is when you're washing your hands and a girl walks in and she walks straight back out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. To check the sign.
Later, walks back in hesitantly, and I just like, oh God, I should just have a T-shirt that says "I was born with one." I don't know.
Well, I've recently had top surgery. Not too much information for the audience, but I recently had top surgery. And it's just because, and I don't want to transition to be a man. I just didn't feel comfortable. And it's like, if I had a funky nose, I would want to fix it. So I've recently had top surgery. And even before I had the top surgery, women would like to come in the bathroom and then they turn around, or I'd get even like the angry, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
and I used to just lift up my shirt and go, I belong here. These, and now I can't do that. So now, like when I'm washing my hands and things like that, and somebody comes in, I go, I lift up my voice a little bit and hello,
I do that too. I try to walk a little more feminine and smile when I enter a
Yeah,
bathroom. It's so weird.
I
And
know.
my girlfriend absolutely loves summer because she says it's the only time people know that she's a lesbian because we'll be walking along the beach and I'll be wearing a bikini too. And she's like, "Oh, I love summer." And then winter comes and I'm in jumpers and she's like, "Shit, people think I'm in a heteronormative relationship."
You and your boyfriend, you and your husband. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, well, we got so many things in common. And I had mentioned briefly that you're an American now living in Australia. Please do tell me, how did you get 7,000 or however many miles? I don't know where you're from originally.
Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, Jesus. You escaped. how, how did
Ran for the
you,
border.
how did you get to Australia?
Well, I usually have two different answers for people depending on the audience. I'll lift up my arm and I'll show them the tattoo that says adventure and be like, "Oh, I just came here for a year at adventure." And then if I think I've got a little more time to tell someone the truth, I'll say, "I actually came here to go to Bible school." And
Oh,
that, yeah, didn't expect that, did you?
no.
No, I came here to go to Bible school and I was fully into, I mean, heck, I was raised in the buckle the Bible Belt and I
Yeah.
wanted to be a preacher and I did all the things and but then that included, unfortunately, because of my sexual identity, it also included 20 years of conversion therapy along the line. Yeah, so it was a big
Wow.
journey, and it took 20 years to figure out that I needed to just love myself for who I was, and that was 20 years worth of depression and suicidal ideations and just a lot of bitterness and anger at trying to figure out like here I am trying to be normal and be accepted by my community, and I just couldn't, no matter how much I fasted and prayed and slapped oil on my head and had all the pastors try to cast demons out of me as they did. Yeah, but finally learned to love myself and I'm all
And
better
you
for it.
and you learned that it wasn't you that was off, it was society that
It
was
was, yeah, the system.
the system. Wow, and 20 years of conversion
Yeah,
therapy.
yeah, it was
Well,
crazy.
can I say, Rowan, you need to write a book about that. You know that, right?
Thank you. I do. And I've started it probably about 7 or 8 times. And each time it just hasn't been right. I wasn't in the right headspace. But now that I've broken the ice and I just released my first book this past week called
Yay!
Creative Cycle, whoop whoop. And it's on what I speak on. It's about creativity and unlocking it within yourself. Now that I've kind of broken that barrier in my head of that, because it's such a block to write a book. Oh my gosh. It is
It
like
can
pulling
be. Yes. Yes, it can
and like
be.
self-publishing. But then thankfully, as much as I try not to incorporate AI into my life, Chat GPT was my life savior when I was like, can I just run this paragraph by you and you edit where I didn't word it properly because I'm just stuck.
Yeah.
And when it edited it, or she, because my girlfriend calls her Chantel because I talk to her so much, I was able to get through that block of what do I do next? How do I self-publish? And it was just that step by step that I needed
Yeah.
when you have a question at 11 p.m. at night and Google just sends you down too many rabbit holes. So AI just kind of helped me out and broke through the barrier, got it done. Now I'm ready to write that memoir.
Oh, I definitely think so. And I've got 5 bestsellers,
Whoop,
and
whoop.
as an expert authority coach, one of my top things that I work with clients, and my clients are like coaches, artists, entertainers, budding authors. The number one thing I say is to help your expert authority is to have a best-selling book. And they say the same thing. It sounds too complicated. I gotta have a smoking jacket. I need to be at a typewriter and I have a whiskey, and I gotta write a Tom Clancy novel. And I'm like, no,
Oh,
especially your first bestseller, it does not have to be a big, huge, massive book. The book that you I feel that definitely you need to write would be bigger than the ones that I've been doing. But the idea, there's a system, right? And there's a couple steps that you have to take. But I'm not a writer, even though I've got 5 bestsellers. I'm not a writer. I'm a talker. So thanks to AI, I'm able to take all my workshops and my speaking events, and you're a speaker, right? So you
yes.
can take also all the things that you say in performances and workshops and things like that and turn it into readable, enjoyable reading content. And that's what I did, because the idea of sitting down and writing a manuscript just ugh, but I can talk for days. And so that's what I did with all my books, is basically
Brilliant.
take my content in a different format and throw it through a couple different AI programs and turn it into something that's enjoyable to read. And also out of that, create an audio book because I got a microphone, might as well.
Audiobooks. I struggle
Audiobooks are
with
great. Have
I
you
but I paint and I listen to books and I feel like I'm doing two incredible, beautiful things at once.
what's the audiobook that are you currently
Ooh,
into?
The Covenant of Water.
The Covenant of Water. I'm going to write that down.
It was highly recommended by Oprah a couple of years ago, and it was been on this. I gotta read that book or listen to that book, and it's being read by the author, which is amazing because there's so much of Indian culture in it, set in India, and so when he pronounces things, where I would be like reading it, stumbling through my head of how is this pronounced? It's so beautifully written, it's exquisite.
I will check it out. I'm listening to Cher's autobiography because I love Cher.
Oh
And
yeah.
an interesting thing is that in she sets it up in the beginning, and I just love her. I have a thing. My mother reminded me of Cher as a kid because I looked like Chastity. I did not look like her daughter at all. My mother was from Morocco, so very dark, very beautiful, exotic, and she looked kind of like Cher. So I have this thing. Every time I see Cher, I think of my mom. And in the audiobook, she says that she has a severe form of dyslexia. And so
Which
she said, through the book, you'll hear my voice in part of it, but I also have my dear friend and somebody that she's known for years do her voice, do the reading as Cher,
Mhm.
and she sounds very much like Cher. Her intonation, the way she speaks. She doesn't try and mimic Cher at all, but it's
Yeah.
very much in Cher's. When you hear it, you go, "That's Cher," right? But it's her book, and she just says, right off from the get go, this is how it's going to be presented because of my dyslexia, and I'm just like, that's so. I think it's so
Incredible.
brave. But
Yeah.
her life is just, it is a story much like Tina Turner, where
Mm.
you really need to know where they come from, not just where they are now, but the journey that they've had. And man, Sonny left her with nothing. She, had some clothes and she had to reinvent herself. And damn, she did. She did a great job at that. So,
When I left my heteronormative relationship, I left with $24 in a suitcase. It started fresh and
wow.
it was a big jump of brave. Like 3 seconds of brave was like, whoa, yeah.
And those are those moments in your life when it's like, this, I have to take this leap. I have to do this thing, right?
I remember I was going through a parking lot and I thought it was free and it said it was $3 after the gate went up. And I got all nervous because I wasn't sure if I had that
Oh,
much money in my account. It was just like a couple weeks after leaving. And I remember not feeling any extreme anxiety. And I just looked at my account and I saw that I had $5 in an account and $2 in another into my checking. So I just transferred $1 into my checking. And I just laughed. I was so happy. It was like I'd won the lottery. I was just like, nothing could disrupt the joy that I felt by embracing an authentic life. And then a couple weeks after that, I got a flat tire. And most people was like, oh my gosh, flat tire. And so I'm Googling how to change a bloody tire and where is the tire located in my van. Had no clue where's the jack, Googling all that. But I was just so happy being free and being me. When this guy walked up to me and he goes, it's the 21st century. You look highly capable, but if you need my help, I'm here. And I was like, yeah,
oh,
that would be great. And I asked him, I said, who are you? And he goes, I'm the producer of Studio 10. And I looked at him without a flinch and just a big smile. I said, that's why I have a flat tire. You need me on your show.
ah,
And
really?
a week later, I was on a show for 3 hours, painting live in the background, and then interviewed. It was just, yeah.
Wow.
So whenever you have a flat tire moment in your life, don't get all angry. Go, ooh, this is an opportunity.
Opportunity.
This is an
Exactly.
awesome opportunity.
Oh, that's so great. Well, that's because you can't be contained and you needed to be, people need to know about what you do. And speaking of that, so speed painting and keynote speaking, you wouldn't think that they would go together, but they do with you. Tell us about just the experience. So let's say someone is at an event where you're the keynote speaker. What do they have in store for them when they come to that?
They have in store the fun experience of watching someone attempt to paint while talking, which is quite an experience because I've
Yeah.
learned that I've got to just paint in the first 3 minutes because of human attention span. I'll usually pop on some fun, happy music, do an entire painting in 3 minutes with just a little touch-ups needed. And then I'll speak about unlocking your creativity and reconnecting humanity to their own creativity, which is something that corporates need so much of. They're like, everyone I feel is just go, 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 go. And I feel like creativity is something that everyone can just incorporate in their life and be a part of their essence of who they are. I mean, we all have like 300 million brain cells. We're all creative, but I can't imagine if I were to count how many people have come up to me and be like, I don't have a creative bone in my body. And I'm just like, bullshit, you do. You just it's just sleeping. We just need to wake it up. It's kind of like, you sit on your foot too long and it goes all numb and funny. It just needs some walking on, just some movement.
Oh,
And
that's cute.
it's so much fun.
and and when you're in that space, yeah, I don't know how you talk. I don't know how you talk while you're painting. I do abstract painting as therapy, and and I'm so focused. That's what I like about it. It's like doing pottery, because you're just, you're so focused on what you're doing that the outside world, goes away. And
Mm.
I don't care what's on social media. I'm not checking my phone. I don't even know if it's daylight, nighttime. I don't care, whatever. But I'm really focused on what I'm, creating. So to have that ability to also not just speaking, but speaking with purpose, like where you're going, right?
Yeah.
You've got a starting point, a middle ground, and then that wrap up, so to speak.
Sometimes the undiagnosed ADHD comes in, and
Yeah.
I just tell people like, go for the ride with me. I remember I was recently speaking a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to be able to face the audience well and connect for this point that I wanted to land. So I drew a couple shapes in black. In fact, if you can see it behind me, it's this
If you're watching on YouTube, yeah.
you're
Yeah.
watching on YouTube, it is this tiger. And so I just kind of outlined the shapes of black that needed to fill in. I said, if you are in the audience and you want to paint right now, you just come on up. It was a short keynote. I was like, I don't have time to like wait for someone to raise their hand. You just come on up. And this woman just comes right up. I just put a little X in all the blobs that needed to be black. And I just said, here, go for gold. Just fill them in. It was outsourcing at its finest.
Right.
Participation. I got to get back to the keynote, land the point while she kept painting, and people had got to be entertained with the art and talking all at the same time in a different way.
Oh, that is very clever, because then also they're invested. They're invested in the final painting, right? They're like, oh, I got to see if this is going to mess it up, or is she going to do all right. That's cool. So you've been here in Australia. How long have you been here?
20 years.
20.
2005, 20. How about you?
Wow. Well, full time, about 5 years, back and forth before that. My wife found me on Instagram by a fluke, started stalking me, and inboxed me one day when she got the courage up. And I was like, I'm completely clueless. I was completely clueless. I was like, oh, thank you. She was like commenting on all my stuff and going back through my Instagram scroll years before. I understood later why she was doing that. She's just probably looking to see if there was any girls in the pictures, right? But she
100%.
yeah, so we just started talking, and then, you know, 6 months we were talking on WhatsApp and video.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 months. Because I lived in Southern California. She lived here in Australia. And after 6 months, I was like, "You're my human." I've never been married before. I've had relationships and things like that, but not the one, the person, my human. And then I was like, after those 6 months, we were like, we have to meet. We have to like, because I think you're the person. And we met in Maui because it was kind of in the middle. It's not,
Woo.
yeah. And how, Maui for 10 days. Jeez.
Oh, and
Um,
lesbians. You just get married there while you're there? Like,
no, we didn't get married there, but we knew we had to. And it was very the whole process of being in America, and the whole process of, the visa and
oh God,
getting here and going. But I've spent a fortune in flights going back and forth, and she was going back and forth, and I was supposed to come April of 2020. I was supposed to have a flight here and be here for few weeks, and she called me up frantic on the 18th of March and said, I think you need to bump up your flight. And I was like, girl, do you know how hard that is to change my flight? And I had arrangements for somebody to look at the house, watch the house, and I mean, I had a whole life there. And I said, it's going to be very hard and work and everything. She said, no, I think this COVID thing is really bad. And I'm worried about, them closing the border. And I was like, what? Come on now. It's just the
Hard to
flu.
fathom.
What's
Yeah.
going on? This is in the very beginning phases when they were like, have you been to China? Have you been to Wuhan? I said, so I checked my flight and it was gone. It was not, it was as if
Oh,
I had never had booked it. It was just not existent. And then I called the partner airline and they go, the Australian government is saying they're going to close the border. So all the flights are being canceled. And I said, my wife is there because we had been married by that point. My wife is there and our kids are there and I have to get there. And the lady said, I'm thinking, I go, well, is there a flight next week? And she said, no, everything is being canceled. And I said, I have to get there. She said, there's one flight. It's today in a few hours, leaving from LAX. Do you want it? And I go, yeah.
what a story. Oh my gosh. Tell me that's in a book too.
It will be. I'm looking around too. I'm looking around in my house and I'm looking at everything that everything that I have. There's dishes in the sink. I said, yeah, book it. And then I grabbed a suitcase and started chucking things in there. A couple pairs of pants. I had to grab my microphone. I grabbed my computer because I knew I could do that from wherever. Some money that I had stashed, a couple pieces of jewelry, my passport, my birth certificate, because I was like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to come back. And nobody knew that it would be a lockdown for that long. But I got on the flight and I landed here in the evening on March 18th. And at midnight, they closed it.
Wow.
So it was like by the skin of my teeth.
That is an incredible.
And I was here the whole time throughout all of it. The only time I've gone back to the US was for my 60th birthday. We went back to Maui for for about 10 days, something like that. And so we came back to America for that. But boy, it that's jumping off that, right? It's
That
not
is a huge.
knowing how you're going to land, if you're going to land, or any of that. And I remember it was the creepiest feeling at the airport because it was empty. The airport was like nobody was there. We had to have masks on, and I had gloves on. I just felt like I was going to a different planet. And I'm very grateful, though. I'm very
I
grateful.
remember doing a mural during COVID, and I would be taking the train from an hour south of the city of Sydney and into the city, and I would be the only human on that train. I remember just walking up and down, sometimes just pushing the buttons, and I couldn't, there you wouldn't see people, and it just felt like
Like a movie.
apocalyptic. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
felt like, okay, I'm just the last one here. That's
Yeah.
great. Hope the train has a driver that stops. It was just
Wow. So what are some things that you miss? Do you miss America at all, or do you miss things that are American at all?
only my mama's cooking and her pumpkin pie. Other than
Yeah.
that, there's not much that I miss after 20 years. I mean, at first it was the cereals and the ice creams, the certain
Right.
flavors. And then now, if someone comes to visit, I can't hardly think of anything I want them to bring. Before it's like, fill your suitcase with,
Right.
and now I'm like, oh, that just tastes like preservatives to me. And
Yeah, no, I'm
yeah,
good.
I'm good.
I miss Mexican food.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
miss real Mexican food.
real,
Not We're not
real.
talking Taco Bell or anything like that, but like I miss Mexican food. I do
And the margaritas, the
the
size of your
margaritas.
hand that don't cost the entire earth. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, here for those that don't know, Australia has a heavy tax on alcohol and cigarettes, whatever they consider bad. I don't know, but the happy hours. That's the other thing. We
Yeah.
have happy hours in America, and if they start like at 3 o'clock or something. And I used to. That's how I lived so cheaply in
Mhm.
California, even though it's an expensive state. It wasn't that bad because I go for happy hour for $10. You get a meal and a drink,
Yes.
and
Yes.
$10 in Australia will basically buy you a little bag of chips
Or a coffee.
or a coffee. Exactly. So those are some of the things. And also what I found that I really, because when I was there in America, the people that I worked with, a lot of them were African American.
Mm.
Beautiful,
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I was in a gospel choir, and
Okay,
I was
all
the
right.
only white girl on a basketball team for a while, and yeah, that's yeah. I really
There
do.
is something about my friends that are and they're still there that I miss tremendously. There's a soul, there's a
Mm,
spirit that is just beautiful, and it
yes,
enriched my life very
yes.
much. And so I miss those people.
I watch the soul type movies just to hear that
Yes.
southern African American accent again, and I took my girlfriend back to meet the parents moment a few years ago, and she just could not get over how precious it was to be at a cafe or something and have an African American woman come up to her and they would say, "What you want, baby girl?"
Yes.
And she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, it's so sweet here." I
So
was so lovely.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Yeah. So those are some of the things. Those are a few of the things. Other than that, I don't miss the I don't miss the political situation the
Uh,
country's in. I don't miss,
don't get us started on that one.
yeah, I don't we don't want to be forever banned from America, but people are having it tough there, and the ramifications or the trickle down effect, the amplification effect of what's happening there is happening to all different countries, right? We're also Australia was the good mate of America for many years. We free trade agreements and all that, and now we're getting hit with tariffs and all kinds of stuff. So it's going to
Yeah,
be interesting to see how it plays out.
that's
But
awesome.
I'm very glad that I'm here, and I'm glad that you're here as well.
Yeah,
You have
love.
family and friends going, can we stay on your couch?
I've got so many friends that want to move here now. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, apparently Canada and Australia are looking really good right now,
I bet. I bet.
but it is a long flight for those Americans that want to come here. It's a very long flight.
Oh yeah, my dad's coming to visit again, and you have to like mentally start preparing 6 months out. It's just
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
do.
And get a an aisle seat so you can get up and walk. You gotta keep those legs moving. So so with what you're doing right now, what's your next thing? What's the next thing that you want to do? Or, do you see yourself doing something, taking on a different challenge?
I always try to say yes, even when the idea scares the crap out of me. So, for instance, a friend said to me, "Would you be able to paint an entire football team in the length of a football game?" Yes. You just say yes. So,
Yes, sure.
yeah. So I would like pitching the idea to
Great.
tell us that sort of
Yeah.
thing right now. And just have some big grandiose ideas of what's physically humanly possible as a speed painter. So I'm always trying to push the envelope,
Yeah.
can I paint Michael Jordan while spinning a basketball with one hand? Like I'm always trying to just
Yeah. You can also mix speed dating with speed painting,
maybe.
right?
I do all sorts of events, brand openings, and like there's a theater coming up that's the oldest one in Australia, and they're pitching me to be painting on stage while 700 people just come through and see the theater on its 100th anniversary. And
Oh,
can I
that's cool.
recreate history? So there's so many beautiful ways to encapsulate art in a live environment, from weddings to birthday parties. I've even been asked to do a funeral recently. There's and
Wow.
just to honor life. It's very exciting, especially now in a day and age where there's so much AI generated imagery. You don't know what's real and what's authentic. And
Yeah.
I'm starting to design a coloring in book, and it's going to take a while because I want to do all the drawings by hand. And I went onto YouTube the other day and looked up the process of creating, self-publishing a coloring in book. And everybody was pitching, oh, you just go into this AI app, type in ladybug, line, art, blah, 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 copy, paste. And it just broke my heart. I'm like, we are just in this world of just mass creation that we're losing the essence of our humanity. I think in the process, I think there needs to be some balance about how much we use
Yes.
as an assistance, not the creator, because we need to keep.
I yes, I wholeheartedly agree, and I've spoken quite a bit on different summits and speaking events on on AI and how I do love it. I love the aspects of AI that I can use to help me with my content. But I always say to my clients and to the audience on those events, it's not about allowing AI to create the content for you. It's about using AI to enhance what you have already created. And that might be even just checking, like you said, like if you've written something, to say, just take a look. Does this get the point across of what I'm trying to convey? Could you say it in a little bit better way? Because a lot of times we get our brains just kind of freeze and we go, oh, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. And then AI will say it in a way you go, yeah, that's the way I wanted to say it. But as far as creating, and when it comes to publishing, so many people think, oh, I'll just have AI write the book for me, and I'll publish it that way, and I'll make money doing it that way. And what's happened is that the marketplace is flooded with AI generated books, and they read like AI generated books.
They do. And even if they don't read like an AI generated book, do you really want to read a book that was written by a robot or a human? Like,
Yeah, because there is no memory, there is no recollection type thing. And especially, like, I do nonfiction, so I do a lot of how-to books, how to improve your social media or how to create a podcast and things like that. And that all comes from my experience, my 20 years being in broadcasting and coaching. that
yeah.
that all comes from wear and tear, ups and downs, successes and crashes. And so that you can't build that into an AI system. So I'm 100% behind you on that. I think it's really important. You're keeping the art of creativity alive. Now, if people wanted to find out more about the work that you do and get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to go?
I am on every social media platform, but I mainly am on Instagram as artist Sarah Rowan, or my website, artistsarahrowan.com. And I'm just easily able to be reached and chat with. And I love just spreading the word and love and frequency of
Beautiful.
life and creativity.
Oh, I love it. Well, I thank you. I just appreciate you so much, and the work that you do is just fabulous. And I will refer to you now as Rowan,
Whoop whoop.
like Cher, like
Yeah.
like Sting, like Bjork.
Why not? Got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I like it. I do. Not that I'm not a huge fan of the Basquiat thing, but Basquiat was just Basquiat, right? It's the same thing. Art. I'm trying to think along the lines of painters and things like that.
Yes.
So we'll make sure we put well, yes, we'll make sure that we put the links in the show notes so people can find you easily. And just continued success to you. Let me know too if there's anything I can do to assist you, and I will spur you on to get that book.
Yeah, thank you.
That book written. People need to definitely, especially young people who live in communities and areas that might be still something that they are exposed to and have to fight up against. So definitely you need to write that book, girl.
I sure do. Thank you.
Thanks again so much. And thank you, wonderful listeners and viewers, if you're watching on YouTube. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want more information about this podcast or any of the podcasts that I produce, you can go to expertauthoritycoach.com. That's expertauthoritycoach.com. And until next time, as I always say, don't forget to think outside that damn box, because it's just holding you in. Get out of it. Get out of it. All right. Take care now.